Good morning. This is the weekly VOLTHA TST meeting. What is today anyway? It is the July 25th. Okay, so let's see. We can dive into the agenda page. If people would like to add anything else to the agenda items, feel free to just jump in and start typing. Okay, so we have a couple of announcements. One of them, the folks from BISDN has added 3 new people to give us a hand with diagnosing some of the test failures that are in the system right now. So it was good to have them come on board. They're just coming up to speed right now, but we'll probably see them eventually. And Jan can add anything if you'd like to with the coming on board for testing. So generally, for being able to follow up on tests and the jobs that are in the system, we added another Jenkins job view called VIP. It was named Very Important Pipelines. And this is very similar to the other pipelines that we have, like VOLTHA 2.12, VOLTHA 2.11, the 2X tests. The only real difference with this is the 2X, the 2.12 and the 2.11 jobs work on regular expressions, so they were matching anything with 2.11 and 2.12 in the name. The VIP Jenkins view is a little bit different. This is a hard-coded list, so we can go in and specifically target specific jobs that may be for regression testing or community pod jobs that we need to follow up on that are having issues, and we'll be able to add and remove content from here as time goes on. Mahir provided us with a list of the jobs we would like to target. There's 12 or I think there's 12 or 13 of them in here, and there's permutations for master 2.11 and 2.12, just so we have coverage on the branches and the master jobs. There are quite a few problems in here. I've been trying to triage some of the failures. I've been opening JIRA tickets for them individually. Some of the failures you have to actually go into the logs and dig for them, but we at least have records open to better track some of these. And on the top of this, go ahead, sure.
Sorry for interrupting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's better to keep only the master jobs here in this view. So we can track only the master, the jobs on the master branch.
Mm-hmm.
So the releases, I mean, we can track them in the release, yes, sections. So let's keep only the masters here.
Okay, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
All right, so let's put a note here. Okay, I'll do that when we get done here. And just so you know, at the top in the description, there are some additional links up here. Just like a link to the release notes if you want to go over there. Like there's a whole table with versions in here and URLs for Docker and Garrett and GitHub. So that stuff's easy to find. There's different Confluence pages. One of them's test jobs by branch, just to see which ones are passing and failing and in which branch they're running in. Let me see. Matrix and deployment. These were links for the release. You can just go in here and see what versions were released and which ones are done. And the other pieces are change sets that are in flight. There's a bunch of them, but there were some failures that are preventing the patches from being accepted. So just working on trying to get those resolved so the patches can go in. So those were the 2 announcements. So let's see. Next, we had the BBF discussion from the last, 2 meetings for the SEBA and Cloud CO integration. And if Mahir or Sakant would like to pick up the discussion, and if we've had any more feedback from the community on plans or suggestions.
Again, I'm going to ask for any new comments or questions from anybody. If there is no, we can proceed with this document and, you know, close this topic. But if there are any comments and questions, welcome.
Okay, so let's see, no new items. Okay, so for updates, let me see. So I think Jan's on. If you'd like to give a status update for the VPN debugging that's been going on.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I tried to like look deeper into the configuration of the IPsec itself and try to see if I can find anything that is like making it specifically unstable or specifically vulnerable to smaller network outages. But I think in general, the configuration itself looks okay. This whole VTI thing is not great. So we should like at a certain point probably move more towards using XFRM and updating the whole configuration a bit, but that's a bigger change, and I don't think that will solve our issue here. So the issue really is an unstable upstream network connectivity. So I can, if you want to, I can share like this general thing, like just so that we get the same idea of what I mean with unstable network connectivity.
Here, I'll stop sharing.
This one. So can see my screen?
Yes, it's up.
Yeah, so what I'm using here is like smoke ping. So that's a relatively easy thing that is running on the gateway. So on this ONF pod in Berlin. And I'm trying to just like ping different targets and basically record the outcome over time. Those four things are the Amazon gateways. And this is just like 1111 is a DNS server, right? And if you look at those graphs here, for example, for the last 30 hours, it should be all green. Like green means I sent 20 pings and I received 20. Dark red means I sent 20 pings and I lost 20. And if you look at the graph, there is like just pure outages basically every, I don't know, so many hours, minutes sometimes. When I tried to use it earlier today, like for example here, you see that like over this whole period of half an hour, it completely broke down, then came back. And this is just ping. This is not like VPN or whatever. It's just like send traffic to the outside world and receive it back. And this was also not related to 1111 not being available or something like that. You can see that no matter who you're trying to ping, and no matter like this is our Amazon base. This is Amazon with the 4 endpoints for our tunnels. And yeah, it looks pretty grim from the connectivity. We're trying to figure out here why it is so bad. There's multiple theories on that. I mean, you see that there's sometimes like some periods where it's good, and then like something changes. The last couple of hours, 30 hours have been super horrible. Nobody knows exactly. So I asked the people from DT to check on their side if they see the same issue. I also installed another probe in a different part of the lab. There is instabilities in other parts of the lab, but not as bad as this one. And yeah, so we need to try to look at the different components. There is a couple of cables, a couple of switches, and interestingly enough, a couple of media converters from this gateway server that I'm pinging from up to the internet connection, basically. And yeah, it's really like trying to figure out what exactly is going on there. And yeah, it doesn't really matter how stable we get the IPsec connectivity. If the general network connectivity drops, it drops. And recovering from that, yeah, I mean, I can start it regularly or restart it regularly, but that doesn't help much with the amount of drop that we have right now. So yeah, need to figure out why it's so unstable.
Jen, are these pings generated from DT lab? This is the connection problem from DT lab to outside?
Exactly. So I'm running this ping basically, or this monitoring from the gateway on. So this is the last part of the ONF setup before the DT infrastructure towards the internet comes.
Okay, thanks.
So like I'm also like I also record internal pings to just see if there's general network instability, but towards all internal nodes. So everything that is on the ONF side, like the pods themselves, that looks stable. So that works. So the server itself works. I can reach all the nodes from all the pods inside of the ONF pod. But as soon as I'm trying to connect to the outside world, I see these instabilities, and we need to figure out if there is a broken media converter or broken cable or a firewall dropping something, or there's so many components. I guess let's see. I'm trying to like have an on-site appointment with them as soon as possible. Sadly, there is a lot of different people involved there. It's like it's a large infrastructure in general with multiple firewalls, multiple people responsible. I have to see how that goes.
Okay, good. Well, not good that the problem's going on, but good. We have a handle on it. Okay, so let's see. Just from general updates that I would add, and these kind of bleed over into the release too. With the failures that were showing up in the job queues, I have multiple patches in flight right now. Most of the VOLTHA repositories, CI management, they're just all over the map. And they're fixing some of the problems, but there's a bunch going on. We do have some failures in the simulator tests. There's a couple of them here if anybody wants to poke at them. Some of them look like they might be due to commands silently failing. There's some, let me see, I'll pull one up here. I can show you. Still debugging these, but some of them are very cryptic. Directory makefile target's not a directory. That's not a good one. Let's see. Here's an example from the ONO sanity test. We have connectivity problems. Connection broken with a protocol error and very little content for what's going on here. It almost looks like something failed to initialize, but we're going to have to debug that to figure out what's going on there. I know I'm jumping through here, but the tickets and everything are logged, and all the details are logged in here too. Some of the failures, you'll get no output, and then there'll be a message in the Jenkins log that a phase has been skipped because of an earlier failure, but we need to add more debugging in the jobs and the commands that are being running to highlight some of these failures to have a better handle on what's going on with some of them. Mahir checked in a few patches over the weekend. He's been updating the version strings in the Go mod file. The submissions did run into a problem that have since been resolved. This was an issue I brought up, what was it, 1 or 2 meetings ago. Basically, there's cases when you update the Go mod versions and then run Go mod update. When a Jenkins job runs in the system, sometimes there's locally modified files that are created in the vendor directory. And part of running Go mod update is mod update normally removes the vendor directory and recreates everything cleanly. So this goes back to we're currently checking in a copy of sources for the vendor directory. We don't actually use them, but they're needed on disk for bootstrapping. And because they're on disk for bootstrapping, then the makefile target can run and replace everything. The kind of bad thing is when GoMod update fails, we have a condition where the sandbox is left unbuildable because the vendor directory is gone and there's no way to recreate it. The fix here put in was to update the sources in the vendor directory along with the GoMod edits, and that put everything in place that we needed, so we didn't have locally modified files. Long term, it would be very good to get the vendor directory, remove it from revision control, and instead of having files checked in, just have a target pull the sources down that we need dynamically when we need them, unpack them and build, rather than having this chicken and egg dependency. But we can work with it for now. But kudos to Mahir for getting that straightened out. Let's see, Abhilash. Oh, go ahead.
For these patches, you had a comment about the version upgrades, the versions that are changed in version file.
Oh,
so do you want me to take it, take it back, change the versions again to their versions, or?
No, just go ahead and push them through. I'm gonna have to update them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just FYI, general FYI. If you modify the GoMod version strings, that normally deploys a new version. What I've been doing for release is temporarily changing the version string to a dev version so that you can accumulate edits, and then when everything is in place, then push out the final released version. This is actually very helpful for VOLTHA docs as well. If we did not use a point versioned dev release, basically every check-in would increment the version string on the docs.voltha.org site. So instead of having 2.12 documentation, we could have 2.12.15.30 or even 2.13, which the versioning gets kind of wonky. So just when versions in go.mod are updated, just be aware that, especially around release time, we have to update the corresponding version strings in the Helm charts and also the version string and release notes on docs.voltha.org. But that's not a problem because I'm having to update them. Go ahead.
But why don't this versions in this VOLTHA Protos, lib, and the other VOLTHA components that I changed, why don't these versions be the latest for the release? Why do we need to bump it up again? So didn't we do anything about the release for VOLTHA components?
Well, whenever you make a check-in, the way the logic is right now, whenever you check into the repository, we have to rev the version string.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a requirement. If you don't, if you just modified go.mod and did not include an edit to the version file, the job will fail because it'll detect a duplicate version.
I know that. What I'm trying to say is, do you need to update the version file again for these components for release? So an example, so in VOLTHA Go, so I changed the version to, I don't know the exact number, but say that 2.4. So do you need to change it to 2.3.5 again for this release? Isn't that the latest,
Possibly.
Yeah.
It all depends. We have some things that we have to build in dependency order. And if let's for a silly example, let's take go.mod. So if let's say there's 4 version strings we have to update and we only update 3 of them, or we have to rebuild something and we get a new version string. If we were going to release the latest at that point in time, we'd have to go in, update the GoMod version, the GoMod file again, which would force having to increment the version string for that repository. When we do that, we publish a brand new version. Then it's a question for the release. Do we need to also update the versions used by the downstream consumers? So like with VOLTHA-Go, if VOLTHA.Go depended on newer versions of modules that were released after VOLTHA-Go was last rebuilt, we'd have to update GoMod, update the version string, and then push a new version of of VOLTHA-Go out.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it, but I'm asking this because there is no development now on any of the components.
Mhm.
So we're in code freeze mode. So I think all these are I expect them to be the latest versions before before the release.
Oh.
So we probably don't need to change or bump up the versions again.
The only thing, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's
The only thing I was going to say is there are configs that probably have not been updated from 2.11 or from the 2.11 release. So there's no guarantee all of the versions are going to be the latest unless we do the rebuild and publish everything. That's probably a short-term problem, but yeah, there are some versions that have not been updated.
okay then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, side note too, I found completely unrelated. There was I don't even remember what repository this was in. I found a Docker file recently that had a hard-coded version of the VOLTHA command in it. It wasn't using the version that's normally installed. So whatever was consuming that, we were actually building or testing with version 1.6.1 rather than 1.8.5 or 1.9.1, I think is the latest that's in the repository. So when that was updated, we really should go through and update anything that was dependent on it to make sure we retest everything with the latest version of VOLTHA, not the one that was hard-coded in the Docker file. Just for an example.
Which Docker file is that?
I'll go dig it up. I believe I CC'd the TSTs on that code review. I'll go dig it up. So I'll send that to you. Just add a note here. Okay, so let's see. Abhilash, it looks like he has a few bbsim patches that have yet to be merged. Would you like to tell us about those?
Yeah, one is on the TX power, which we had simulated the output so that it will get supported. And one is a minor point fix with respect to the CLI label. And one is on the recon side. So here, since the pipelines are failing, so these have been pending from quite some time. So I don't know how we have to proceed. I remember there was a suggestion to either way go ahead and merge this regardless of the pipeline failing.
Okay, I can take a look at them after the meeting to see if there's any overlap with the bbsim problems that have been showing up around the tests. But yeah, at this point, you probably can just merge them in if the tests that have been run look clean. That should be fine to merge.
Okay,
we also have another one waiting to be merged. I pasted into the chat.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the Jenkins will allow with the -1 to be merged. I'm not sure. I haven't tried, but yeah. So we'll have to.
We can fix that. The way you usually do it, if you have +2 access, you can delete the -1 and either rerun the job to have Jenkins add it, or if you know it's going to fail, you delete the -1 verify, and I could manually attach the +1 verify for you. That's not a problem.
Okay, sure. I'll start at least for the ones which have +2. I'll try to try to merge them. I'll get in touch with you, Joey, if I find any issues.
Okay, no worries.
All right.
Okay, let's see. So, does anybody have any other items they'd like to add for release or general discussion topics before we move on? Okay, so this was probably another announcement. So I suspect this probably was from Denise. So
It's from me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to share with everyone that we are planning a open broadband meetup the week of October 16th in Istanbul. Turk Telecom has generously offered to host it there. So we're hoping to get out this week just a quick announcement with a save the date. We're trying to nail down the exact dates for the event. We do expect to have an open CFP as part of this event. And specifically, we're looking for folks to lead some technical topic discussions around SIBA VOLTHA, like, upcoming features, enhancements, alignment that people would like to see with Broadband Forum, stability. So just keep that in mind. Again, we're hoping to get something out this week so that you can make plans to join us there. It will be an in-person event. It will be about a day and a half. The first half day will be a closed meeting for the Broadband Governing Board and probably the TST. And that evening, we expect to host a dinner that will be open to everyone. And then there will be a full day of meetings the following day. So that's it. I hope everyone can attend. Any questions?
So, Dennis, is
Yes.
it possible to extend the deadline for the CFPs? I think it is today, right? The
No.
deadline for CFP.
The CFP deadline is not today. I was just asking for input from the TST. So when we publish, we'll be opening up the CFP
Okay.
to a lot of folks.
I see.
No problem there. So if you have things to add into that document I sent you a link to, that would be great. It's just to give people, I want to have something that we post when we open up the CFP to give people an idea of some topic areas to think about proposing a talk for. So no problem.
I see. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. Back to you, Joey.
Okay. All right. So I was trying to find the Docker file with VoltCTL, but I'll dig that up after the meeting. Okay, so let's see. I guess the floor is open for any general topics or discussions people would like to cover. Okay, I guess with that, we're going to have a little bit shorter meeting and we give you, let's see, back about 30 minutes for your day. Okay, well, I guess everybody, thanks for joining and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Yep, thanks.